Hello, one and all, and welcome to Creating Canon with your hosts, AJ Hamilton and Nick Pappas.
I'm fine with that this week.
Are you?
Yeah.
I am not.
I'm not either.
I'm going to correct myself on my own. That guy over there, that's Nicholas C. Pappas. Yeah.
I don't know that name.
Echo did not know me, apparently.
Echo doesn't know.
That's fine. That's
Shush.
fine.
Shush.
Oh, boy.
All right.
How you doing?
Hey, everybody.
It's...
Welcome to another episode of Creating Canon. I already said that.
Yeah, it's I'm
a different
excited to
voice.
be here to talk about X-Ray.
X-Ray.
X-Ray!
X-Ray.
A.k.a. Hospital Massacre. A.k.a. Be My Valentine or Else.
Huh.
A.k.a. Ward 13.
Yeah, this movie takes place on two Valentine's Days,
Yes.
separated by a few years. How many years?
It's 61 and then 81, so 20
81.
years.
Okay,
Well,
sure.
maybe we should just give like the most simple of the plot,
Oh,
right?
please,
So like,
yes. Hey, why not?
when Susan goes to find out the results of a simple checkup, a face from her past wreaks havoc on her doctors, the hospital, and her life. Starring Barbie Benton and her breasts. It's X-Ray.
Yeah, all three of them are fantastic in that movie.
Yeah, usually I don't go straight to like Barbie Benton and her breasts because that feels
No,
a little creepy.
sure.
But it's very clear that in all of its marketing for this movie, it's like Playboy's sensational centerfold, sex
Yeah.
symbol Barbie Benton.
Featuring her curvaceous sexiness and
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
But these are like all things that like it's just there. And then her nude scene lasts like
Uncomfortably long.
47 minutes. Yeah.
Just about a third of the running time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really uncomfortable. So like that's why this movie was made. Everything else is just
Filler?
yeah,
Yeah.
up until that point.
Because, like, we talked about this in earlier episodes, that these movies, not an excuse to see breasts, but sex sells.
Well, that's, yeah, I mean, Menachem Golan, man. Like, that's
Sure.
exactly what he said.
I mean, gore and sex sells. Now, in this one, there's really not that much sexuality. In fact, we'll get to it, but the nude scene is an examination, and an incredibly uncomfortable examination at that.
I was like, girl, call the police.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
doctor is not okay.
No.
He, like, specifically sends out any, like, female nurse to be there
Yeah.
in the room.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he, like, takes her bra off for her
Mm-hmm.
in order to do the checkup. Like,
And
I mean,
everything is so slow.
yeah.
It's incredibly slow.
It's almost shot like a sex scene without
Like
the
a Red Shoe Diary sex scene.
right.
Like
yeah,
a
yeah.
softcore thing where even though they're showing the breasts, a lot is going to be suggested.
Well, but there's not a lot that
But
was
it's
like
not
we saw.
suggested.
Oh, I see what you mean. I see. What you mean.
Within that other
Yeah, with
format.
Got it.
yes.
Yeah, I was uncomfortable. Like the doctor made me he made my skin crawl.
And that yeah.
well,
And
we should
spoilers.
spoilers alert.
Whatever.
I mean, maybe we should even just go because this movie is
This is bananas, man.
Yeah.
Should we start at the beginning?
I think we have to because to
Okay.
me this is the tale of. Well, first of all, to me this is the tale of like it's two movies. Like there's two movies happening here.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah.
One I'm so fucking down for and I want to see.
Uh-huh.
The other one is I have no clue.
No.
So you're right. It starts off Valentine's Day,
1961.
yeah, and the the opening super title actually has the words "Susan's House," 1961.
Susan's house.
Susan at this point is maybe 8 or 9.
It seems to be. Yeah.
Like so, it's actually Susan's parents' house.
yeah. Right.
Technically,
Like, well, she can claim residence.
Maybe,
That's fine.
yeah, that's true,
fine.
that's true.
In a census, they would say,
yeah. All right, yeah.
parents plus Susan.
Parents plus Susan. And what happens
She's
is
hanging out with her friend David, I believe. Yes, David. I wrote David parentheses kid. Yep,
David Kidd.
David Kid.
And as it's Valentine's Day,
And they're decorating for Valentine's Day.
no, they're playing with trains.
Okay, I'm sorry, but they have decorated.
For
the house
Valentine's.
is decorated in Valentine's Day things. I've never seen that. Did your family? Did you ever
No,
notice?
no. We did
anything
not
about,
do that.
Like maybe in the classroom?
Yes.
But they had like streamers and
Heart
signs and
streamers
all
and-
over
yeah.
the place.
Which,
That was weird for me.
well, they needed to tell the audience that it was Valentine's
Got
Day.
it. Without maybe a super title.
Without- yeah.
Valentine's Day 1961.
Yeah, I mean, it could have said Susan's House, Valentine's Day, 1961.
Show not tell.
Right.
Got it.
They decided to show in this one and not tell.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Yep.
So they're like, what, 9? Like, David and Susan are like 9.
Sure.
And there's this, like, creepy 9-year-old looking through the window.
Correct. Goes by the name Harold. We learned.
Harold. And he, like, definitely has a thing for Susan. And he's just
Sure.
like, So he goes ahead.
Crazy
and
eyes that kid has.
Seriously.
Yep.
He goes ahead and he leaves a Valentine on the porch for Susan.
Sure.
Rings the doorbell and then just runs away. All's good so far, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he doesn't run too far, though.
Because he runs back to the window, where he watches Susan open the Valentine, and the Valentine is something like, "Dear Susan, I love you. Happy Valentine's Day from Harold." They crush it up.
They dance around it.
And they laugh at, like, Harold's
Yeah.
expense. David and
What
Susan
an
do.
idiot.
What an idiot. And then she's like, ugh, I'm going to go get the Valentine's cake.
As
and,
you do.
And she
Again,
has this,
Valentine's Day cake?
Exactly.
I'm
She's
upset.
in the kitchen by herself, and she's holding a knife that is conservatively machete size. Like, she should be in some sort of jungle hacking away.
In a very menacing way.
Yes!
Like, it's like the movie is trying to tell you she's the murderer. She's definitely a murderer.
She's definitely a murderer.
Something that she's dangerous or
Yes,
something like that. I don't know why.
I swear to God, she belongs in a South American jungle.
Yes.
Next to an opium field in
Right.
that first moment. Like,
Yep.
in that moment with the machete. Mm-hmm. And then she, like, starts to cut the cake, and she hears a noise. She goes to explore the noise, and I can't even. And what she finds is David has been hung from a coat rack.
And also strangled by a belt?
I think so.
Yeah?
And it's just like a coat rack that goes in the corner. It's not like attached to anything. It's just a coat rack. Which, AJ, have you ever had a coat rack in your house?
I have, yeah.
So you know how, like,
well, my grandparents did, yeah.
you know how, like, if you put a coat
or
on
too many coats.
on an empty coat rack, it just goes
it
over.
tips over.
Yes.
This kid, like, the base must be a 50-pound weight.
It's got to be sealed to the ground.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Also, second point, Harold is the same age as them, and
Yes.
he lifted this child up with what? Jealousy rage?
Uh-huh.
I'm assuming, like,
Well-
that's his strength.
And I think part of the question that we're supposed to wonder, and I don't think they make a good point of this, is like, because when Susan comes back, Harold is still, like, standing there looking at her like, hey! Like,
Out
what-
the
like,
window already.
Yeah, like, you like it? You like what's happened?
This is my offering for
Yeah.
you? Yeah.
And this is fucking ridiculous. I can't even believe we're
Dude.
having this conversation.
No, it's necessary.
Can we just talk about the other movie within the movie?
Okay, yes.
No, okay, let's go. Okay, no, we should
Let's at
finish
least
it.
fast
Yeah.
forward when we get to that movie.
Cut to 20 years later.
I think it was 19... You pointed it out to me because this came out in 81, but I think it was to 1980. Cut to
Oh, that's right.
1980. Because there was something about 19 years that
That's right.
mattered. They
That's
said
right.
it 19 years later.
Which is really fucking weird.
Yeah, I don't know
like,
why.
That's such a specific... You would think
Because-
they would add, like, whatever.
Yeah, but in that time, she's gotten married, had a kid who
Been
is
divorced.
probably been divorced.
She's
who-
probably... The kid's probably, like, 8?
probably her age at
Yeah.
in 1980. Yeah, so she's at her work. Probably a good job.
She's
I
got a
don't
good
know.
job. Well, she's
Seems-
getting a promotion.
Oh, that's right.
And the reason she needs to get a checkup for insurance purposes.
just yeah, what a great setup
Which is...
to a movie.
Like... Yeah. That's right. Like,
to a movie.
I don't know how, like, look, I don't know what she's doing
Yeah.
where, like, she has to get a checkup to make sure she can get her promotion.
I guess it's just probably insurance purposes within the company.
Maybe,
They're like,
but, like,
I don't know.
she seems, I don't know
can't
how
insure a
to phrase
smoker.
this right.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Everybody does.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
So, she's already had the doctor's appointment, and all she's doing is getting a checkup. And her new
Right.
boyfriend
Getting
is
the
like,
results.
her new boyfriend's like, I'll take you to the hospital, but goddamn it, I don't want to be here all goddamn day.
But before that, her husband comes to drop
right.
her ex-husband comes to drop her child off and says, "Hey, you take her." She was like, "No, I'm busy.
Well,
take her back."
Assuming it's the middle of the day, like I feel like it's supposed to be like
5 after work,
4
like
p.m.,
after work.
just after work.
Sure.
So she should technically be taking. She's a terrible fucking mother.
She is.
Oh,
and
God.
also, she's going for a checkup. She could take the child. She could leave the child with her new boyfriend, husband, whatever he is, and they'd be fine.
Well, I mean, she knew that there was going to be a hospital massacre coming.
Uh-oh.
Yay, yo.
She was smart.
So, once she gets to the hospital,
Yeah.
first of all, we should talk about, like, she gets in the hospital and her...
And it's still light out.
It's still light out. The hospital is bustling. There are people everywhere.
Sure.
I think what's amazing is, like, she gets out of the car, and, like, when she walks out of the car, there's, like, a guy staring at her.
Oh, yeah.
And then she gets inside. She's like, "Excuse me,
Doctor's rushing around.
Where's my
everywhere.
doctor?" And the person stares at her. And then the janitor stares at her and is, like, licking his lips. Like, every guy she
That's
comes
right.
across is like... And she finally then gets upstairs. But as she's on her way upstairs to her appointment...
Yep.
well, first of all, that's when we first meet Sloppy Joe.
Sloppy Joe in the elevator. He gets in on one of the floors,
And he's
randomly,
standing there leaning against the elevator. She looks down at her foot and,
and
like...
there's drips.
drip
Of,
red.
oh my God.
Is he bleeding on her?
I know.
The camera pans up, and it's just a dude holding a
Hamburger.
hamburger.
Sloppy Joe,
Well,
sort of.
It's a Well, what's crazy about it is it's a hamburger.
Yeah.
And he had ketchup. It's like he put the bottle of ketchup, and rather than like open up the bun, he
Yeah.
just poured it all over his hands. And was like, "I'll just lick my hand for my
I'll
ketchup."
deal with it.
It was insanity.
It was their shorthand of this guy's off his rocker.
Right. Well, and I think they're trying to do like a cheap scare, but it's
Oh, yeah,
the
of course.
cheapest and stupidest scare I've ever heard of in my entire life.
No, and it wasn't even shocking.
No.
It's like drip, drip, no reaction from her,
Yeah.
no reaction from him. Then it goes up to. It was almost that was a laugh line.
It
That was
kind of
almost
was.
like a laugh reveal.
And that's when we find out that, like, her doctor is essentially like just a regular doctor.
Yep.
But in the middle of her doctor's office,
Uh-huh.
it's an asylum.
Yeah, basically, like one of the floors is an asylum. It must be. They're left to roam any floor they want.
Yes. This is the movie that I was interested in seeing
Yes.
because like there were just these weird people in bed. There was a woman like asleep with
yeah.
a cigarette in her hand.
But like a heroin addict,
Yes!
hanging out in a park, like sort of leaning over but having perfect balance in this weird position.
everyone shuffles around like zombies. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
a zombie movie. I have
It very
expected
much
it to be a
is.
zombie movie.
There are so many different people in there that are exhibiting odd symptoms that we see in the background that's just happening. And then there are the three ladies.
The three old ladies.
The three
who
old
are
ladies.
just...
One is played by a man, by
One
the
is
way.
definitely played by a man.
Yes.
One is like always knitting and like whores. Everyone's a whore. Isn't
Yeah.
she also a nun? Am I misremembering
One of them
that?
had rosary beads, I think.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then the third one was like an old English biddy.
And they just show up in random places, and it really made me think of the witches from Macbeth.
Ah, yes.
I was like, Jesus, are these, like I said, supernatural? Are they just wandering around? Because they show up at random places
in random.
without time for them to have gotten out of their beds, which they're in the beds
Also-
that are in her room.
Also, like without even we are jumping all over the
I
place.
know,
'cause
I
this
know.
movie is insane.
It's bonkers.
Well, they also like show up like in one scene they're in like their hospital nightgowns asleep, and the next scene they show up in like pearls and hats, and then
Yeah.
they're back asleep. But like the background, again, this is the movie I wanted to watch. Was like a David Lynch film.
Oh, very much so.
Like
Yeah.
like all I needed was like in the corner there would be like a little person on a unicycle
Right.
jumping rope.
I wanted
and
everybody
then,
at
like,
one
a
point,
clown with a machete,
like a
and,
bunch of sailors bouncing balls.
Yeah.
In the middle of the room, just like, boom,
it would have been
what is going on here?
Perfect.
Yeah, because it's really like two people not only directed the foreground and the background, but wrote the background.
yes. Maybe I should say like to catch us up really quickly through
Yeah.
everything. Long story short, somebody mysteriously calls her doctor away.
Right.
And kills her doctor.
Didn't she call her up to the 9th floor?
Right, which
is a whole other thing.
Oh my god. So, fuck, I feel like we've done crack.
Yep.
And then watched this movie, and now we're coming down and trying to explain this movie.
Yeah.
Because
it does feel like
it's
that.
it is so complex in how uncomplex it is, right? So,
Yeah.
while she's on the elevator, she tries to go up to the 9th floor, and someone's like, don't go up to the 9th floor. They're delousing it.
She ends up at the 9th floor, and the people,
Oh, that's right. There's 3 people in gas masks.
Yeah, and which leads me to believe that it is
Toxic.
And then they're like, go back down, lady. And you never see their faces. And then the thing...
Or them again. Or anyone on that floor with a gas mask.
She's like hitting her buttons and freaking out. And then she goes back down. And at the same time that she's trying to get up there...
Her doctor is called upstairs. To the 9th floor.
Yeah.
And puts on... does not put on a gas mask. There's just fog everywhere.
Sure.
Because it's been freshly deloused, apparently. Or
I don't
whatever
know.
They
I don't know
it.
what you use to kill lice.
I don't know. What the fuck are we talking about anyway?
I don't know, man. Listen, my God. Okay, to get to the crux of the whole movie, being that it's called Hospital Massacre, there is a masked fellow who looks like a surgeon who kills the doctor.
And anyone else, basically.
And everybody else.
For the most people, most people he just stabs, except for the janitor... Who, oh god, this was a theme in the movie that I loved more than anything.
What's that?
The doctor died, and the janitor goes and accidentally finds the doctor's body.
That's right.
And then the janitor's like, oh my god! And he runs, and the only person he can find happens to be the murderer.
Murder surgeon.
And then the murder surgeon kills the janitor in a face full of acid that's just in a sink.
Oh, that's right.
That
was
nowhere.
the funniest one.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
And then someone finds the janitor's body.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my god! And runs to go find somebody, and the person they find is the doctor.
Who is not covered in blood. Every time it's like the murderer puts on new scrubs because he must be getting bloody, and it shows the splatter on him, and he has a white tie, which a white tie is hard to keep clean in general if you're not a murderer. Yeah, man. I love white ties. They make you look like a badass.
Yes, you are.
So 3 murders in succession.
Well, and everyone who finds a body always goes to him for help.
Naturally.
And that in and of itself is amazing.
And so this is all happening. She's been waiting in the waiting room or something.
For days, it feels like?
It feels so long.
There's nobody there. It's dark outside.
They're like, okay, we'll talk to... Yeah, it gets dark. It cuts back to her boyfriend or fiance in the car. It's dark by then. So
there's no one in front of the hospital.
Even if this is the middle of winter, which it doesn't seem like it, unless this is LA, but still, maybe it sets at 6.
Sure. He's asleep.
He's had a long time to just get a nap in, but they cut back twice to him, and then he wakes up.
I conservatively, at this point, thought it was 4 a.m.
They've had her waiting multiple times for it to cut back to the murderer. That it feels like she is just at her wit's end. I feel like she smoked 17 cigarettes and is just like, what is going on?
Angry, and then it turns out she's like, I've been here for an hour.
Yeah, fuck you.
And
you haven't. That's a lie.
I just lost my... Well, at that point, time meant nothing.
No.
Nothing meant nothing. I feel like this whole movie, which I thought, honestly, I thought it took place over, a 12-hour period.
Yeah.
I think it takes place in, 90 minutes to 2.5 hours. I think it's supposed to be
bananas.
that short. Well, considering, she has waited forever.
Yeah.
And then...
Because he says, I've been waiting out there for an hour or 2, or I don't know. But it was a minuscule amount of time for what had seemingly taken place and all of the indications of time passage.
Right. Well, not only that, she's there long enough to get super angry.
Yeah.
She runs into a guy named Harry, who is a doctor who's willing to help her out.
Yeah.
They pull her x-rays, and it turned... Well, we forgot to mention this earlier.
Oh, right.
Her x-rays were switched by the murderer.
Yeah.
Harry...
A lot of stuff had to go right in his timing.
Perfect. The murderer's timing to make this work.
Right. Because I think he even does something... That's why she went to the 9th floor, is he was doing something with the breakers or something like that. Didn't he?
Oh, well, this is later.
No. She got caught in the elevator
early
on.
That's right.
Because then he was able to kill the doctor. Then all
this
the other
movie's as
people.
clear as mud.
It's mind-numbing.
Yeah.
And again, everyone. I want to talk about one of the themes that everyone is creepy and confrontational. Nobody in there is there to help anyone.
No. Well, Harry is the only one.
Yes, right.
Harry's the only one who sees her x-rays and is like,
oh, we got to take care of this.
yeah, this is terrible. We got to talk to another doctor.
Yeah.
So they go to another doctor who then turns out to like...
Mr. Beam?
Is
Mr.
that what
Saxon?
Dr. Beam?
No,
Dr.
Mr.
It doesn't matter.
Nah, it doesn't matter.
None of this fucking matters.
Both of them are dumb. Oh, yeah, Dr. Saxon was the creepy one. Dr. Beam was the bald guy.
Right.
Yeah.
So Dr. Saxon, who is the one who eventually like looks at all of her charts and is like...
You might be dying.
Well,
some
he doesn't
insane...
even say anything. He just is like, this is bad. You can't go. We need to check you out.
Yeah.
And that's when the 45-minute examination starts, which...
He's such a predator. And they're trying to set up literally everyone in the hospital. Hal, creepy Sloppy Joe, all of the people
Harry,
in it.
Jack,
everyone,
who's the boyfriend,
yeah.
Dr. Saxon, Dr. Beam. Like,
they're
they could all be the
creepy.
killer.
They could all be the killer, absolutely.
The janitor could be the killer, although he's dead by now.
Yeah.
But, like,
so,
you thought he was...
Well, and they're checking off boxes to be like, you thought so, but it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's... fucking hell. Anyways.
Continue.
So he does this examination that lasts 45 minutes, and this is like an amazing thing that the writer-director talks about.
Okay.
In the, we watched the special features on the Blu-ray.
Right.
And one of the things he mentions was that the day that her nude scene was shot, what did he say? It was packed. The set was crowded. Everybody showed up to watch her get naked.
Yeah.
And I think that offset mentality
yeah.
translates perfectly to what this movie is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right? Where it's like, the whole reason to show up to this set was
because you're working with Barbie Benton.
To see her topless, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what we kind of hit at the beginning. But
yeah.
Like that examination is creepy. It's
so
like
creepy.
Oddly sexual.
Well, the guy is a lech from the moment you meet him.
But I don't know if he's like, that's the crazy part is it's like, I actually don't know if he's supposed to be lecherous or if it's
kind of
weirdly, I don't know. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes,
Like,
absolutely I do. I mean, I don't know what the direction he was given, but all of it is just a very weird performance.
Everything was weird.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't a clear message. That's the thing when you're trying to make everyone be red herrings. The world that she exists in doesn't make sense anymore.
Well, that's actually a huge problem that I had with the movie. Is like, it continued to try to ramp tension constantly, which is exactly what you want.
Yeah,
but it ramped tension for the audience and not for her.
No, she was just annoyed, basically.
Yeah.
Everything was annoying to her.
Yeah, and it should have been.
Yeah.
Because, like, she doesn't know that there's been, like, 7 murders by this point.
Yeah.
She is not watching all the creepy people in the background. It seems that she goes through her life every second of every day with people leering at her. So it's probably not that weird to her.
Yeah.
But it, like, builds to nothing. And because she's so, like, just give me my results. God damn it. We're like, we don't know why we're supposed to be scared because she is clearly not.
She's clearly not, and it feels like everyone is trying to capture her and keep her in this haunted hotel or something, you know?
Right.
Like, there was a movie that just came out called Unsane. It's shot
Soderbergh,
all on
right?
iPhones. Yes, exactly. And in that situation, all of the people that are in charge are very matter-of-fact and very caring. And she feels like she's going insane because everyone is acting so normal around her. And they're like, no, you have to stay here. It's for your own good. And that makes more sense than this thing where everybody is a creepy ghoul,
well,
you know?
That's absolutely right. Like, it is that. And part of me wonders, like, well, first of all, everyone in this movie makes the worst choices at every single
They're so dumb.
second.
Especially the fiancé.
The fiance, each doctor. I mean, like, the fact that not one of the doctors sits her down and says, look, there is something very scary happening with your results, and we need to do more tests so we can send you out and you'd be okay.
I'm pretty sure it's because the writers didn't know any medical lingo whatsoever.
Well, that's it.
I don't think they did any research on this movie at all.
Although, what's crazy is this movie is written by Mark Beam, who also wrote Charade.
Okay.
He wrote Help, like The Beatles' Help.
Wow.
And then Boaz Davidson, who also directed this, we talked about Lemon Popsicle, which is
Sure.
his.
Yeah.
But he's also produced like a billion movies, including like Hitman's Bodyguard, Olympus Has Fallen, Expendables.
Oh, yeah, of course.
He did the remakes of Conan and Bad Lieutenant.
Right.
And The Mechanic. Like, so he like, well, none of those movies are that great, but like, they're all fun though. I will say they're all fun.
Yeah.
Although he did go through a period of his life where he made Shark Man, Snake Man, and Mansquito, which
Why are we not watching those right now instead of doing this podcast?
I don't know. Because
Wow.
like Mansquito, I actually am brokenhearted that I'll never get to write Mansquito for the first time. Like, I will never be the first person to write Mansquito. But he was saying, and I wonder if this plays into it, the movie was all completely shot at night.
Yeah.
And he was also talking about, like, it was an abandoned hospital, and he kept getting lost on set.
Was it an abandoned hospital, or was it like a hospital that was closing down, but they could only use certain floors of it? Wasn't it?
I think that's actually right.
It was like still functioning downstairs.
Like downstairs, but like several floors were non-functioning.
Yeah.
Which also makes me wonder if those mental patients were
Live extras
who just got on set.
Like,
because at a certain point,
leave it, it's fine.
Yeah, like they're fine. They're just let them go. It's easier not to bother them. But he was talking about how scary the environment was and how freaked out everyone was, and like when you shoot at night all the time and you go into work and it's dark and you walk out and it's like dark, you start losing sense of like everything.
I suppose so. Yeah.
And I'm wondering if this is one of those weird things where they're like, this place is fucking terrifying. We don't really have to do much.
Yeah.
Which, again, like, it goes back to her. Like, there is no fear for her at all. I think that's what we were talking about.
I think so. But also, the reason why it felt creepier and creepier is because the ratio of administrators to patients kept going down over the night, and that's why it felt like it was so much later in the night. It's like, oh, is this a skeleton crew? No, if you're saying that this is like 7 at night, there are still going to be orderlies. There were only 2 orderlies that we see the entire time. There are a total of 2 doctors after her doctor gets killed, and Harry, who is like an intern.
Yeah.
So there's 5 people, and the only extras that they had were the patients in the background. So it feels more and more like everything's closing in. But at that point, when people keep dropping like flies, it makes the whole set feel like a ghost town.
Yeah, that's actually a great
makes
point.
it feel like it's 2 or 3 in the morning, where everybody should be asleep or chained down, strapped down, because you're all insane. You send them back to their rooms.
Which is eventually what they do. Oh, that's what we were talking about. I remember now. This goes back to like the writers not knowing lingo, the medical lingo.
Right.
And I think you're onto something where like they did not say like, hey, you might have bubonic plague.
Yeah.
We need to like set you down.
You might be contagious or something like that.
All they do is they don't tell her why. They're like, we're strapping you down. And then they strap her down.
Yeah, they do.
Without like any rhyme or reason. She has no clue why. So that's when she starts freaking out for the first time.
Right. And at that point, does her fiance find her
and
release her?
Fiance,
because he releases her the first time.
Right.
He just wanders the halls
and finds her,
asking for. He asked the first lady on the first floor where would she be. In the fact that she gives him the information,
that was amazing.
Readily is fine with me, but it belies the way everybody else upstairs is acting.
Yes.
They're so creepy, like very Gestapo. We're not telling you anything.
Yeah.
You do not deserve to know. You are just a patient. It's like, no. Have you ever been to a hospital?
I haven't. What are they like?
That's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, but one of my favorite deaths was the fiance.
Yes.
So Dr. Saxon finds him trying to escape with Suzanne. Susan. And says, no. You sit here. I'm going to run some more tests, or, it's very important that she gets rest or something, but I'll come back and talk to you. Then randomly, he gets a call.
That's right.
And he's like, should I answer this phone that's ringing in the hallway?
No, it's even better.
Oh, no, it's a phone.
Over the intercom system. Yeah. It's actually, can the guy in the waiting room in the hallway on floor 8 answer the phone? And then it starts ringing.
That's right. And
he's
then
like,
he picks it up. Hi, that's me.
I'm the one in the waiting room in the hallway on floor 8.
And he's like, okay, cool. Come up to to floor 9. He's like 2 feet away from the elevator at this point.
Yeah.
Doesn't take that. He takes the dark stairway up to the dark landing and goes into this fog-filled place that I would assume smells like
Death?
poison?
Yeah, like poison? Like raid?
I think they make it smell like something. And he's wandering around. He passes, at this point, that's why I think they're supernatural. He passes the 3 old ladies.
That's right. And they're like, you're so handsome. You're so good. Get out of my way.
And
who, just to be clear, too, those 3 old ladies were conservative
asleep?
3 minutes ago asleep in the same room that Susan has been strapped down into.
Yes. So, he's wandering around, and that's when they were it was so long. Remember that? They counted the rooms.
Right. Every single they told him to go to like room 913 and he walked by like 901.
There was a separate shot of him, the hallway, the door. Him, the hallway, the door.
903.
Oh my god.
904. All the way through. I mean, it was...
Well, suffice it to say, the guy cuts his neck with a surgical...
That's right! The surgical saw.
Surgical saw. Then, at that point, I'm just going to rush through this because I love this. She is not strapped down. She's just sleeping. Someone delivers a hat box to her room. She wakes up, for some reason, opens it up, and it's his head! She screams, she runs around,
What's in the box?
She's so scared. She finds Dr. Saxon, brings him back to her room. There is a cake. There is only a cake in the box at that point. It's rewrapped. So he had to have 2 boxes.
Well, because he can't replace, he can't just take out the head and put in a cake, because that would be just like a bloody mess on the bottom of the box.
Exactly.
You're absolutely right. He had to have 2 boxes. This
wrapped
killer
boxes.
Had 2 boxes.
Brilliant. I thought that was an improvisation that he cut his head off.
What?
But apparently he was like, this is
No,
what
I got an idea.
Yeah.
I know I'm not doing this.
He's almost to the extent of Joker forethought.
Well, so...
To have it be this creepy and this insane...
Eventually we find out. I think it's time to reveal who it was.
I think so, too.
Of course, it's Harold from the beginning of the movie.
What?
Who has grown up and turned into...
Harry! Brilliant twist, everybody who didn't remember that.
I actually didn't remember that. I was like, right, I should have known. But you lulled me to fucking sleep. So I forgot everything that's ever happened before each moment of this movie.
So, to me, I think that it would have made so much more sense. There's no reason to tell her childhood story.
No.
You can exposit that later on. You don't, the fact that Harry didn't get arrested and... charged for murder as a child?
He did, but he went to some sort of youth facility.
Okay, fair enough. But the fact that they needed to show that in the beginning sort of, is just an excuse for the first scare.
The kill, yeah.
The first kill.
AJ, you're talking about the hat box and did he know he was going to cut off his head and all of this stuff?
Yeah.
I just want to point out
and also all of his replacement duds.
All of his replacement stuff.
Yeah.
And all of the people he kills, and he had a vat of acid ready to go to kill the janitor.
Of course.
Look,
yeah.
I want to just talk about was he working at this hospital all this time, hoping that one day she'd come in?
It seemed to me like he had been working there for a while,
right?
And also that she had never been to this hospital before the last week.
Yeah.
You know what he could have done? He could have understood what hospital they would send
her to eventually,
because she was working at the place. I don't know, man. Fuck that.
It also too what's amazing though is he is so plans out everything 1,000 steps ahead, right? He's so good at it.
Yeah.
Except for the scene where she gets trapped behind a white curtain
that doesn't go down to the floor.
Yeah, it goes to her knees.
Yeah.
Where she's standing there behind it. She drops the lighter, makes all kinds of noise. The lighter slides out from the curtain. It's just her and the killer standing there at this point. We don't know who it is.
Right.
He's waiting for the elevator door. All of this noise happens.
And he's also got a hatchet.
He's got a hatchet.
Which is not medical.
No, not at all. She, slides her foot out on the lighter and pulls it back right as he's walking by to be where is the noise? And this is another one of those places where it's trying to ramp tension, but in all of the wrong ways.
All the wrong ways. Absolutely.
I feel like, if you don't mind me saying this...
Please.
There is a line in the movie that sums up the entire movie for me.
Okay.
Which is, when she is waiting, and she is losing her fucking mind because she's waiting so long for something to happen, Susan goes, "This is unbearable. I just can't take it anymore." Well, and I was like...
You mouthed that along with her without even seeing this before.
This was the first time I've seen it, and yes.
That was amazing.
I did. Like, I know we're looking at these movies specifically to find, like, what to do and, like, how do we make our own canon film.
Yeah.
But this one was especially tough in that, like, it felt rushed. And actually it was. Like, it was just rushed into production to capitalize on that slasher boom that happened in the early 80s. I mean, this is, like, 81, so it's, like, a few years after Halloween. It's, like... Sure. Just around the same time as the first Friday the 13th movie.
Okay.
So it's like right there. It's right in that early pocket. So this one's early, but there is no forethought put into anything.
I would be curious to know if they timed out, like, there is time for the murderer to get away. Because, I mean, it's a plot. It's at least a plot to be like, oh, this is a time where Harry could have snuck away. Although, there is one scene where she and Harry are in a room.
Oh, that's right.
And someone who looks like the killer leans in, and he has a mask on, so there's no reason why...
Holy shit!
Yeah, thank you.
What?
I don't know if that was obviously a misdirect, but I don't know if it's valid, because it clearly was the killer.
Wow.
I don't know, man.
You're absolutely right. Well, it was the killer. Like, there was no mistake about it. Like,
who else would it be? There's, like, 3 doctors in this entire hospital.
Right. The killer leaned into the room while her and Harry were in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a bad misdirect. Holy shit.
So did they plan that, or did they just think, maybe there's another surgeon somewhere around? Because it didn't seem like it. They didn't establish that.
Well, it's interesting because the director, one of the things that I had read was that he's the last... Like, this seems to happen a lot with canon films, where, like, he somehow became a last-minute replacement for the original director.
Yeah, the guy just, like, backed... Or he was supposed to support
the
it
film
with money.
Yeah, and he just decided not to bring the money, and they were like, get out of here, we'll figure it out ourselves.
Seems right.
Yeah,
good way to do work.
Yeah. And he just didn't know what he was doing. In fact, actually, the story that you told me about him, I'm going to let you tell this story.
Yes, of course. So he was talking to people after the movie had come out, and he had done this very earnestly. He said, "I don't know how to do horror, but I will try it." So somebody came up to
Dracula.
him after. I should be a natural at this. But and his movie that he had done before,
Lemon Popsicle,
version, right?
Comedies.
So comedies. And they said, Boaz, you've done it again. Another great comedy. Which must have been sort of crushing to him to be. I mean, granted, maybe he still believed that it wasn't his strength, but he had done his best at it, and he didn't seem too crestfallen from it. But I mean, this interview was probably 30 years later.
40 years later.
So he must have learned to laugh at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he, like, every attempt at horror in this is kind of a laugh.
It's...
I mean, we either groaned or laughed at most of it.
Yeah, if you're looking for, like, a pure... And I guess this goes back to, again, like, what is canon about it?
Sure.
It's like, if you're looking for, like, pure, like, boobs and gore, this is perfect for that, right? And, like, I feel like the thing that I learned about this movie, and, like, maybe the only thing I learned about this... Well, I feel like there's 3 things.
Please.
2 are lessons about, like, what you should not do.
I think that's a lot of these, but... Go ahead.
Yeah, well, so and this is the difference between you and I think we should just kind of, like, throw out there. Like,
please.
I love movies that are not great.
I love to laugh at movies that are not great.
I have, like, a real honest appreciation and love. Like,
okay.
Like, Showgirls, I saw, like, I love that movie in a way that, like, I can't even describe. And, like, I genuinely enjoy it. Not like, this is terrible, but, like, I'm like... But I recognize that it's terrible.
This is warm and fuzzy.
This is warm and fuzzy, and it feels good.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is about, man.
I think it's a confidence that you can make it better. That you could have made it better.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if anyone can make Showgirls better.
Fair enough.
It was great on its own. But two things that strike me of like things definitely not to do.
Please.
First of all, the lighter dropping scene. It's like, just don't do that. Like, that scene was ridiculous. It made no sense. And then you pointed this out. The eye line was off.
The eye line, they did not have any sense of geography in that entire scene.
Yeah.
It was very disappointing.
And that made that scene feel really terrible.
Yeah.
I also think, too, the idea of ramping tension shouldn't just be for the audience.
Right.
It actually has to be for the character, because if the character is in a different place than the audience...
We're seeing it through their eyes.
Right.
We should feel the same way they are feeling every moment.
Because if she doesn't care, if she doesn't feel like she's in danger, I don't know why we know she's in danger, but then it becomes a game of like, all right, when are you gonna die, lady?
And I don't
Can't wait for it.
And I don't even think that was her fault necessarily. She's not the greatest actor because she hadn't really.
No,
she
hadn't
hadn't
this
really.
Is like maybe her only thing. Like she did Love Boat, Fantasy Island, and Playboy.
Yeah. So she was trying. She was doing her best. But I think the direction. They tried to have it on the other side. They tried to have everything happening to her. I just think she was acting against an unrealistic wall.
Yeah,
well,
and not only, and I think part of that wall comes down to like, if you even think of like Friday the 13th, the characters in the movie know that people have died here and that characters are now missing.
Yes.
Right. So there's things about that is scary.
Yeah.
And Friday the 13th and Halloween, like, people know that people have been dying.
Yeah.
She, because it's all characters that she has no connection to whatsoever.
That's such a good point.
She has no clue.
Because
we do.
It really ramps up when she finds the head.
That's the first person she knows
because
that dies.
Everything else is happening behind the scenes. And I think that you're right. A murder, with her understanding it, should happen. Even if at least Harry is gaslighting her, by the second act, she should know the reality of it and be fighting against it, because that was the beginning of the third.
Yeah.
Maybe middle of that.
And that's exactly right. Like, I think you're right. The first time she knows that a murder has happened was when she finds her fiance's head. Up until that point.
I think maybe she saw one after that. The guy get hit in the head with the hatchet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, after that, I think she sees like 3.
Maybe.
Like, she starts seeing it after that. But, like, at that point...
Oh, my God. I gotta talk about the best murder ever. The ghost murder.
The ghost murder?
Okay, do you remember when Kitty or Dora, one of the orderlies, was walking down the hallway, and she had no idea that anybody had gotten murdered?
Oh, my God.
But the murderer, he basically holds up a sheet as big as the hallway, and then starts running at her.
And she's like...
with it. She's like, no! And he just wraps her up in it, and I think he stabs her a couple of times, and then she looked like a ghost.
Yep, that's right.
It was the stupidest, best ever.
She being Susan, every single chance she got would knock something off a counter.
Oh my God, 3 times.
But in a way where she, like, we watch the actress get told, oh, knock those files off so the killer can see you.
And then she
put her hand on it and then just went slide like a cat.
Yeah.
But then was like, oh, whoopsies.
Oh no, I didn't mean to do that. I am so clumsy.
Oops.
Oh God. So at one point he's coming after her and reveals that he's Harry, and he's trying to cut her open. Oh, and then guess who saves her? The 3 crazy women, because they're like, "Doctor, what are you doing?
You're such a doctor."
And then she punches him in the nuts or something, and then runs away. And then she's hiding from him and pours flammable liquid on him.
Yep, the sign on the bottle says flammable liquid.
Then she has this entire time held onto that stupid lighter, and they get up to the roof. Oh, she stabs him.
She stabs him.
That's right.
She hits him over the head with a pipe, and then he's still after her. She lights him on fire. And he chases after her.
And then she doesn't even move until he's right at the edge, and then he jumps over.
Then she moves out of the way for him to fall off the roof and then go splat on the ground.
Which is... And we didn't even get to see him on the ground, which I was very disappointed in.
It was a dummy falling, and it looked terrible.
Oh, and that's another thing that we got to learn from these movies. When everything's resolved for our hero, and I think modern movies have learned this with the huddling in
Fire truck
ambulance
or an ambulance, yeah.
With a cup of cocoa or something like that afterwards, where they sort of get to debrief them about what happened. Literally, it cuts from him jumping off and her seeing him jump off and holding on her to a song and her wandering out of the hospital, all healthy, hugging her family, and then credits. It's a very weirdly rushed last couple of scenes. I don't like it.
It feels like you're right. It feels like that's happened in a couple of movies where like the end is just sort of like the killer is dead, or like the story is finished.
Wrap it up.
Fuck it, let's leave.
Who's actually even waiting after the guy is murdered?
That's all that they're here for. The one thing I do think that we can take from this, and almost I want to pitch, like, can we make the short film of the David Lynch
background
actors? Like,
absolutely.
That's, to me, where this movie sold it. In fact, for me, that's where this movie actually had, like, all of its incredible, like, ramping tension. Was like, these weird fucking people in the background where you're like, what is happening here?
If this had been a Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, something like that, where everything was going on and she realized, like, it was all just mundane, but everything was happening behind them, that would have been amazing.
AJ, I just fucking realized something.
What's that?
Oh my god!
What?
This might make this movie okay.
Please?
To a certain extent.
Okay.
What if Harry didn't work at the hospital, but was a patient?
That would have been amazing.
But was that supposed to be what we understood?
No, because...
God damn it!
No, I know.
I tried fixing the movie.
You tried fixing the movie, but he interacts too much with the main doctors.
That's true.
They're like,
the doctors didn't do anything
Harry,
like...
if we had realized that, yes, he was avoiding the doctors all the time, but they were like, Harry, what does he know? He's just an intern.
That's
Wasn't
right.
it?
That's what
because,
they said.
that would have been amazing if he had, like, murdered a doctor to get their clothes, and then that would have been super cool. Somehow,
I almost would have been down for this movie.
Oh my god, that's why there were so many crazy people wandering around, because they had gotten out after
where
him.
the ward is, yes,
because he had left the door open.
We solved this movie.
Listen,
AJ.
let's make a remake of this movie alone. I could take lessons from all of these fucking movies, but this one alone had so much weird potential. If we had watched it and recorded ourselves doing this, we guessed it going a different way in so many different ways.
But, like, not in a way to be clear about that. I think it's great when you're like, this is what's going to happen, and it doesn't happen.
Oh, no.
This was like,
that's brilliant.
This is what's going to happen, and then something happens, you're like, how was that even possible?
Right.
That happened.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it happened, and we were like, oh, we saw the pieces the whole time, we should have figured it out.
Because this really wasn't a movie like Fight Club or something like that, where you can watch it again and say, holy crap,
it was
Sixth Sense, it was there all the time.
Yeah,
exactly. No.
Staring me in front of me is, I think, what
staring in front of me.
Yes. It was like staring in my fucking face.
Fair enough. I agree. I think that's about it.
Maybe that's a thing that we should then look at, is like thinking about what to do for our next, for what we're gonna make.
Absolutely.
Maybe the key is to basically remake X-Ray
with everything that we've learned from all the other movies.
With all the other things,
yeah. Because I think there's a rich playground to be had in this movie. It's just that they didn't play with it all, or they played with it wrong. I'm not a person to say that you're playing wrong,
but they did. They
did.
I mean, like, and
sadly,
in a way, what they did was, and maybe this is one of those differences of, like, in 1981, when there were maybe like 5 or 6 slasher flicks out.
Yeah,
it might have been different than now, when we have literally almost 37 years of slasher movies, where we could look at them and be like, okay.
Horror movies are difficult, I think.
Yes.
I think they're very difficult to make realistic and completely scary or completely believable.
I think horror movies are hard to make good.
Yeah.
I know that sounds crazy, because
you're right.
I've seen a ton of...
Suspense movies, great.
Yes.
Horror movies, straight down the line, are difficult.
And I've seen a ton of horror movies that are okay.
Yeah.
But very few actually transcend into something else.
Agreed.
Honestly, like, I don't know if we could ever make X-Ray, the remake, transcendent. But at least we can make it feel competent. And I think
Agreed.
that's... And when it comes down to it, in some ways, like, that is the key. Like, this doesn't even feel competent.
Yeah.
And that's not a shot at Boaz. And that's not a shot at, like... That's a shot, I think, at, like...
His sensibilities, almost.
Well, not only his sensibilities, but when you try to cash in on something and, like, turn it around so fast, it doesn't always work the way you want it to.
Agreed.
And this movie had awesome kills. It had awesome, like... I think if you took everything in and of itself, there's some awesome stuff in there. It's just that when you put it all together, it begins to crumble.
And with this crumble, I think we say adieu. I don't know why I switched to French.
I don't know. I guess with that, there's just one last thing to say.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
This is unbearable. I just can't take it anymore.
I agree.
Yeah.
This was a difficult one to sit through, but that's all right.
Yeah.
We will get it on the next time.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Absolutely. Well, next time. Speaking of the next time, what are we watching?
Oh, AJ, you're going to be in for it.
Am I?
Yeah, I think you are.
Okay.
We are watching the Oliver Reed's Dr. Heckle and Mr. Hype.
What?
Yeah. It's the kind of movie that you have to be either high to watch or make.
Oh.
Because, oh dear Lord. It's not, I can't even, it's like, can I just give you one bit of a preview?
Please.
There is a moment in the movie where Dr. Heckle, played by Oliver Reed,
yes,
is a podiatrist.
Oh.
And the whole thing is filled with these weird visual gags where one of the people who visits him literally has 2 left feet.
Why?
You know what?
Oh, no.
I've seen this movie, and
Yeah.
I don't have an answer for you.
That's exciting.
So please join us for Dr. Heckle and Mr. Hype. And you didn't hear this from us.
Okay.
But we found this movie on YouTube.
Oh, yes.
So, you didn't hear it from us.
But don't Don't rat us out.
Don't rat us out.
Be cool.
But, like, if you want to watch it for free, you gotta check it out.
I think that might be the only place to find it.
I think you're right.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. This has been Creating Canon. I am A.J. Hamilton. That's Nick Pappas, Nicholas C. Pappas.
Yes.
You can follow me at the A.J. Hamilton on Twitter or Instagram. And how about you?
I am Nicholas C. Pappas on Twitter.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
And we as Creating Canon are at Creating Canon on Twitter and Instagram, and that's Canon with 2 N's, or technically 3, but CANNON. I know, man. We'll get this right one time. And we're also on the Facebook a little bit, so check it out. And subscribe to our YouTube channel, maybe. All right. Peace. See you next time. And don't forget, good night and good canon.
Is that right? Is that how it goes?
I don't know. Have we done this before?
I feel like it's been a very long time.
Who are you?
Where am I?
I don't know.
What am I?
I can't tell you that. That's something you're going to have to learn when you're older.